Hi, Matt with etrailer. If you have a 2024 Ram 1500 and you live in a state that requires you to have chains, or you just need them every now and then and you want something that's going to be really easy to get on and off, just in case, then the Titan Chain Roller Link tire chains with a rubber tensioner are going to be a great option for you. So let's check them out. Now these chains are going to fit tire size 265, 70 R17. Now this will fit a lot of other sizes, that's just the size we have today. And we're going to have this on our rear axle as what the manual recommends. Now if you're worried about if this is going to fit your vehicle or not, I recommend just putting your vehicle's information into our fit guide to find what's going to be the right one for you. Now there's going to be some pros and cons to roller link style chains, and that's going to be that they're going to give you more of a smooth ride, so when you drive you don't have to worry about too many bumps. Now the downside is since they don't have any hard edges to them, they're not going to be great for biting through that deeper ice. And they're also going to be low, Class S chains, so there's some pros and cons with that. The con is it's not going to give you as much traction. The pro is they're going to sit a lot closer to your tire, which is actually perfect for a vehicle today, since we don't have very much space behind our tire to begin with, so you're going to need a Class S chain to begin with. They're also going to have a diagonal pattern to them. So with the diagonal pattern, we're getting a little bit more coverage on our tire, and since we're getting more coverage on our tire, that's going to give us better traction overall. So when you are making those turns, it's going to help assist with that. They're also going to be constructed from an alloy steel, so they're going to be able to last you a decent amount of time and withstand the elements. And what's going to separate these chains from a lot of other options out there is going to be this rubber tensioner on the front of it. A lot of chains aren't going to come with one. This one does. And honestly, I think this is kind of needed for some chains like this. Just because that clearance behind our tire is so close, we're going to need something that's going to be constantly applying tension to your chains, because what can happen a lot of times is when you're driving down the road, your chains can shift, and once they shift, they usually are going to loosen up some. What this is going to do is constantly apply tension, so even if they do loosen up a bit, it's still going to be a pretty tight fit. These chains are going to come two to a set with 2 rubber tensioners in this pretty light duty bag. And even though it's a light duty bag, these are some light duty chains, so they shouldn't tear it up. Now, what I actually do like about this is typically when you have any roller link style chains, trying them getting back in the bag is going to be really difficult. With these chains, they're actually not really springy like the other options out there, so rolling them up isn't really too much of a pain, and they actually going to fit pretty easy in here. Now if you do want something just a little bit more sturdy, I just recommend investing in a tote to keep your chains in. But in my opinion, honestly, this is probably going to be one of my top choices for if you're looking at roller link style chains, just because you don't have to get underneath your vehicle, because you make all your attachments on the front side of the tire, and it's going to have that rubber tensioner too. Now if you're looking to upgrade to a kind of more sturdy style chain and something that's going to give you a little bit more traction, just in case you do need to use this a little bit more than you think, then I'd recommend the Titan Chain Assisted Tensioning Tire Chains. That's actually going to have some square link style chains on them, and they're going to be made out of a stronger material too. But that's also going to be at a much more premium price range. So really just going to depend on what your needs are. Now if you are curious to see what this process looks like, because it is pretty straightforward, just stay tuned and we'll walk you through it. To start off installation, I like laying out my chains and also grabbing some gloves just to make this a bit easier. Now if you are doing this for the first time, I recommend staying home trying this out, because it's going to be pretty tough to try to figure this out on the side of the road in the middle of a blizzard. But what I'm looking for is 2 things, is to make sure we don't have any damages to our chains or links. And then I also want to make sure this is in the right orientation. So on these little blocks here, I'm going to say tire side up. It's going to be hard to see. We just make sure that's facing up, because the other side is going to have all these hard edges which could damage your tire. So you want to make sure that's facing down. Then when I come over here to the center, I'm going to remove this rubber tensioner so it's out of my way. We want to make sure this isn't connected yet. So with that all situated, I'm going to start putting it on my tire. And the way to do that is actually to wrap it around and just slide it behind here. Now if it is really snowy out and that snow is preventing you from doing that, you might just have to throw it behind here. Then you can wrap it around like so. And before we connect it down here, I'm going to connect it at the top behind our tire. So grabbing this side with this link. The other side is going to have a hook on it. I'll lift up some. Make that connection just like that. I want to maintain control of my chains. And hooking on over here. That's really just going to be one of these middle blocks going through that channel. And then I'm just going to shift this around some so it's not centered, or that this metal cable isn't centered on our chains or a tire. And then I'm going to just repeat that same process with this last block at the bottom. Now this one can always be pretty tricky, but you just kind of work with it a bit and get on there. Now I'm just going to, again, just kind of try to make sure everything is where I want it to be. Now there's going to be 2 middle blocks on here. If you want to, you could try to get that second one on. That's going to be pretty tough. So I'm going to leave it there. So I'm just going to grab our rubber tensioner now. Just going to move these hooks to different positions so it's a little bit easier to work with. The way you do this is you want to make sure you put this on in a star pattern. And when you do that, you want to make sure that that middle, or that hook on here, is facing away from your tires, just so it doesn't damage anything. Another thing to keep in mind is these hooks might fall off, and that's okay if it does while you're doing this, because they do come off pretty easy. You can see right here, if you put it back on, just make sure that thicker side is on the rubber tensioner, and the thinner side is on the metal cable. After which, I'm just going to tug on it again, and this is feeling really nice. I like that way that's looking. We're just going to repeat that process on the other side. After which, you're just going to back up or pull forward some, check it again, make sure nothing's shifted, and it still looks good. And if it does, you can take it out for a ride. But that was just a look at the installation and some of the features of the Titan Chain rolling tire chains with a rubber tensioner on our 2024 Ram 1500. I'm Matt. Thanks for watching.